So looking into violation number 5, you're into the scenario where we've moved on to the documentation side of the violations. The first 4 violations are related to the operational piece, so unreported transactions. Moving into the program piece, this is failures related to the compliance program itself, so the documentation. As you read through this, you very quickly realize that they did in fact have documentation. It existed. The problem is that they weren't following it. And this is one of the big disconnects we see in effectiveness reviews, in FinTrack exams, in just talking with clients. It's usually kind of one or the other. We have this awesome process, but it's not written anywhere. Or we have this awesome process, but we forget steps 2 and 3. Both of these situations are less than ideal, but having an awesome process that isn't documented is better than having an awesome process that's documented and not being followed. I don't know how awesome their processes are in this scenario, but it doesn't matter because they weren't being followed. And as you read through these, you will notice that there are processes related to reporting. They are documented, and it just says very clearly in the statement that they're not following it. Similarly, there are processes for ongoing monitoring. They're documented. I don't know how quality they are, but regardless, if you have quality procedures, you have to make sure that you're following them. And whatever you say you're doing, you have to make sure that you're doing it. If there's 5 steps, you have to do all 5 steps. You can't do 1, 2, 3, skip 4 and do 5 because you're not following your own process. Even if that 4th step isn't an obligation, if it's just something additional that you say, hey, this is a really good control that we can implement, let's do that, and then you don't do it, you're going to get called out in effectiveness reviews, you're going to get called out in exams as not following your process, and that is considered a deficiency during an exam. The other item in here is they don't even have processes related to the ministerial directives. So that's a big one as we start to see ministerial directives used more and more, such as the recent one we saw earlier this year related to Russia. They also didn't have any processes related to PEPs, politically exposed persons, head of international organizations, or family members and close associates related to that person. These are factors that didn't seem to be called out during the operational portion, but without kind of a real heavy in-depth look and verification of whether they missed some of those, I think this is kind of FinTrack saying, hey, you need to make sure you're covering these things, and especially when it comes to ministerial directives, because you're dealing with kind of the security related to Canada as a country. So it's a big deal, and you better make sure you have documented processes of how you're following it. Also, how you're staying up to date on new MDs as they come out.